Gary Kruger.
Much, Madam Speaker, thank you. We're talking about the saddest thing possible, the breakdown of a couple with children's relationship, and then not just the pain of the breakdown, but an ongoing feud that often lasts for years, re-traumatising the children and embittering the parents. And we must always remember that the effect of divorce or separation is usually impoverishment, both for the adults involved, but also for their children, and indeed for elderly parents who shouldn't be forgotten in this, capital which is lost to them and to their future care, and the effect on whole families of divorce and separation, and the loss of half a child's adult world when his or her parents separate acrimoniously, often causing a lifetime of emotional damage. And so I wanted to start by stating plainly that there is nothing that we can do more important as a society or in this place than to help people to form stable and lasting and loving relationships, particularly in the context of bringing up children. And I'm conscious that we spend a lot of time in this place debating means of mitigating the effects of family breakdown, and not a lot of time debating how to prevent that breakdown in the first place. We discuss how to provide ambulances at the foot of the cliff for picking people up who've fallen off, and very little time discussing how to put fences at the top of the cliff to prevent the damage in the first place. But of course it is right that when the worst happens, we must do what we can to ensure that the obligations of parents to support their children are upheld, and that's why we have the Child Maintenance Service. And I want to quickly reflect on the work that the service does. And its work is increasing, as we've been hearing. The CMS manages over 600,000 arrangements for child maintenance, which is up. It's growing. That proportion is growing. It's up 9% just in the 6 months to last December. We're also seeing an increase in the collect and pay arrangements, which is a bad sign in itself. So that's up up to now 37% of the total number of CMS arrangements are managed through collect and pay, 37%, up from 30% just a few years before. And compliance is running at around 2/3. If the collect and pay arrangements, compliance is running at about 2/3, which is understandable but sad and essentially unsatisfactory. My honourable friend for Stroud mentioned the 2012 reforms, which were partly designed to encourage voluntary and family arrangements and have been successful in that regard, and I agree with her about the success of those reforms. This has increased, but we also need to recognise that the number of separated couples without an arrangement has also increased. And according to the National Audit Office, it appears that there is no clear change in the number of families with an effective arrangement in place. So the fact is that 1 in 3 separated families only 1 in 3 separated families have arrangements that are working in full, in which payments are made in full. So for all the progress that has been made, and I recognise the points that she's making, then CMS is dealing with very many difficult cases. We still have too many non-payments or not payments in full. And we all have many cases that we're dealing with at any one moment of constituents reporting their frustrations with the CMS. And it is very frustrating for our officers to deal with too. And I just want to quickly pay tribute to my senior caseworker, Camilla Jequier, who's dealing with so many of these cases at any one moment. And I'm sure we all have a Camilla in our office who's battling with the CMS on behalf of constituents, and she does really tremendous work, patiently and sympathetically supporting constituents. And just a couple of examples, and there's some on both sides of the parental dispute. A caring parent who reports that the non-resident parent has another job, has increased their earnings, and that is apparent to HMRC, but the CMS will not increase the payments that the non-resident parent, the father, is making. Another non-resident parent who's continued his old business using cash, and I spoke yesterday in support of keeping cash in our economy. I very much do support that, but recognise the opportunities that gives for this sort of fraudulent behaviour. He's claiming universal credit fraudulently. The CMS financial investigation has confirmed that, but because of the UC claim is in place, they cannot collect the child maintenance that is due. On the other side, you get paying parents out of work for 6 months, and this is another case, the collect and pay arrangement has continued, and the father's home is now under threat because the CMS has not recognised the loss of earnings. Another case where CMS is using gross earnings from before the pandemic, not recognising the substantial loss of earnings that this parent has endured in recent years, not being able to use up-to-date HMRC data. So I just reference those as examples of the frustrations that constituents have, while also acknowledging the very good work that CMS is doing. And, we don't get reports of good work from government agencies, we just report the bad ones. But I'm afraid there are still too many of those. So I support the bill. I want to pay tribute to my friend from Stroud. She's been an absolutely tremendous campaigner on this. It's a very good bill. I'm very pleased to see that the government, and I'm sure opposition, supporting it as well. It's an important step to ensure that we can improve compliance. My thanks to the DWP for their support for this important bill and enabling CMS to do its work better. I hope we'll see the same from the HMRC in due course too. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.